This is definitely what you would call a running start. People ask me who's the next James Bond, but what I really want to know is who's the filmmaker that will be behind the next James Bond. This is a quick video. Let me know in the comments what filmmaker you'd like to make a Bond film. Kill that like button if you agree with me, or shoot it just for the sake of shooting it. Don't forget to subscribe too. So Bond fans, looks like we're in good company. Nolan is a big Bond fan too, with some interesting takes on the series. Who knew his favourite Bond was Dalton?
What's your favorite Bond actor, and what's your favorite Bond film?
My favorite Bond film is On Her Majesty's Secret Service, as anyone who's seen Inception can probably figure out. My favorite Bond actor is Timothy Dalton, and I love
Living Daylights. I think is one of the
Living Daylights is very, very good.
Yep.
Very good. A little bit let down by the climax a bit in technical terms, I think, but it's very, very good a lot of the way through, and he's fantastic. And even License to Kill, which is aging better than I expected in some ways, but I think he's closest to the character in the book. And it would have been interesting to see him do more.
I was listening to the podcast Happy, Sad, Confused, and Christopher Nolan was on talking about the Blu-ray release of Tenet. And here it is. I'm going to empty the savings and put a bet on Paddy Powers. I think one of the next 3 films Christopher Nolan will make will either be a Howard Hughes movie or Bond. I love Howard Hughes. Great story. But let's talk about the important thing. James Bond. I do hear the pushback from people not wanting Nolan to make a Bond film. But hear me out. There is going to be a moment when Craig steps down where the series is going to have to reassess itself. It'll have to rethink and reimagine Bond for the next 10 to 20 years. Maybe Christopher Nolan is the best person to do that and guide Bond through the process. We all know he is one of the best filmmakers of his generation. But he's also a big fan and appreciates what makes the series successful.
One of the great misconceptions of the Bond films, not to dispute you, but if you look at the earliest ones, they had some of the most incredible plots. So if you look at Thunderball and you look at the plot behind that film, which is maybe why it was a subject of litigation for so many years, because the original screenplay that was the treatment that was put together between Fleming and Kevin McClory, that then eventually the rights, became an issue because Fleming wrote it as a novel, which is where Never Say Never Again comes from. However they came up with that plot, that's one of the great plots in movies and in books. And I think that with something like the Bond franchise, at a certain point, it was driven plot-wise in the early days, and then there's so much investment from the audience in the character, the situation, the episodic idea of it, that, you get yourself a lot of freedom in terms of plot. But the classic Bonds, the early Bonds particularly, the plots were amazing, really, really tight and really original.
It's clear in his work that Nolan has been influenced by Bond. The locations, practical stunts, lavish sets, obviously the exciting opening sequences. He takes those big opening sequences and puts them into his films. Anyone seen Tenet? I have a very early review if anyone's interested. If you look at the Batman films, Lucius Fox is just Batman's Q.
Oh, here we are. Kevlar utility harness, gas-powered magnetic grapple gun, the 350-pound test monofilament. Wonderful project your dad's made.
And obviously, Inception has a huge homage to one of my favourite Bond films. Similar to the Bond series, Nolan likes to do things for real. And looking at Nolan's films and the intricate plots, imagine how great a Christopher Nolan James Bond plot could be. And yes, apparently he has an idea for it too.
You know, I've always loved the character, and over the years I've met with Barbara and Michael, who are just the most incredible people and most incredible producers. But that's part of the problem. They're such incredible producers. They do great on their own. I'd love to work with them at some point, but it would have to make sense. I put it this way. Somebody asked me this question recently. I said I'd have to be needed. You know, I mean,
Sure.
you can't. There's no point in turning up to just say action and cut. And I think they've got a really good thing going, and I love going to watch those movies.
Yeah. I mean, do you have it in your mind if and when that opportunity came about, like what you would want to do with a character that hasn't been done?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I've put myself to sleep at night for the last 40 years trying to figure that out. But as you do as a filmmaker, you always think about other people's movies, how much better you would make them.
But I'm curious, I mean, without revealing too much, like what is the unmined territory of Bond at this point, you think?
I would never tell you that. Those are the only cards I hold.
Oh,
it's the
you
only
got-
chance I have of scoring the gig is
Okay.
to, you know, imply that I have some extraordinary thing that nobody else has thought of. So I'm never going to tell you.
People always want to know who the next Bond will be. But I think the really important question is who will helm the next Bond. The Bond series has always been a producer-driven series. Not to downplay the contributions made by Terence Young, John Glenn and Martin Campbell over the years. But Sam Mendes could have been the change of the series and the type of director they want to have helm these movies now. And it's why Christopher Nolan might now be able to slot in. If Christopher Nolan could take Batman, which was a dead franchise back then, and rebuild it, do it justice, I don't see why he can't take our favourite hero and tell a great story. After 25 films, what do we have to lose? So that's my very quick take on Christopher Nolan helming a Bond movie. I'd love to see it, but I also think there's room to have loads of different filmmakers come in and tackle Bond. If you agree, shoot the like button. Comment below too. I'd love to hear who you'd like to write a Bond movie, direct a Bond film, or just people you want to see in the series. I know Charles Dance was in For Your Eyes Only, but I'd love him to come back and do a different type of role this time. Don't forget to subscribe too. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Bye.
This is it. This is it. When her secret finds its way out, it'll be the death of him.
James Bond, I've made you redundant.
Not as long as there are people like you in the world.